This is The Fifth Estate, a conversation between young African scholars from the Fort Hall School of Government and Professor Mutahi Ngunyi. Today, we will call Uhuru and Ruto to order, and we will do it respectfully but truthfully. Gentlemen, God delivered this country from the brink of war, and He used both of you to accomplish His purpose. But after God granted you the victory, you embraced the enemy. Then you turned against each other like ungrateful men. No, the last election is not the only victory that God granted you. He gave you victory over ICC and the evil schemes of Muzungu countries. But now that you're comfortable, you have become ungrateful and you have forgotten. You have forgotten why we fought in 2007 and why you were taken to the ICC. You have forgotten why the Gema nation and the Kalenjin nation entered into a covenant. And this is why we must call both of you to order.
Now we will shoot straight. For Uhuru to call Ruto huyo kijana was madharau. It was contempt, not acceptable. But for him to tell us that Ruto likes to manga every weekend was even worse. It falls way below the levels of madharau. This is not contempt. It borders on hate speech. But no matter the circumstances, the two men must respect each other. And this is why as citizens, we are calling them to order. What about Ruto? Why are his men attacking the Kenyatta family? Why drag the late Mzee Kenyatta and Uhuru's brother into the fray? In our view, this strategy is dead on arrival. It is in fact primitive. Ruto should distance himself away from it by blaming Murkomen or someone for it. Now we will return to Uhuru and ask this question. What was the logic of doing a handshake with Raila and then opening a new war front with Ruto? Why contain one enemy and create another? This does not add up.
We will call Uhuru to order regarding some political imposters calling themselves the Rich Council of Kikuyu Elders. This week, the Rich Council of Kikuyu Elders told Ruto to retire with Uhuru in 2022. Yet Uhuru did not correct them. In 1977, a council of rich Kikuyus wanted to stop Moi from becoming president. They had no reason, they were just greedy. Then they started the Change the Constitution movement to stop Moi from automatically inheriting Jomo Kenyatta. They failed badly because Jomo stopped them. Then Moi became president. And for 24 years, Moi destroyed the foolish and rich Kikuyus one by one. He destroyed their banks, their farms, their children, and their hopes. Then their children started drinking jet fuel in frustration. Every Kikuyu remembers the 24 years of agony under Moi because of the foolishness and greed of the 1978 Council of Rich Kikuyu Elders. Fast forward to today, the new Kikuyu Council of Rich Elders is a house of jokes. If Uhuru does not stop it, its greed and political foolishness will cut short his tenure as president.
But Ruto should also be called to order. His sin is about the methodology of romance. As a Kalenjin, Ruto is a warrior, but he is romancing the Gema nation, who are a community of traders. His methodology of romance, therefore, must be different. As a warrior, Ruto's romance is point blank. He knocks on the doors of Kikuyu traders and tells them, lipa deni. And then he tells them that paying a debt is romance. This warrior methodology does not work for trader communities. Ruto should not approach 2022 as if it is a mali kwa mali affair, an affair where he gives and then expects to be given. Mali kwa mali is a transaction. It is not a relationship. A debt is a transaction. And because Gema is exiting power for the next 20 years, they want a relationship, not a transaction. To tell the Gema nation of traders that they have a debt to pay is to tell them that once the debt is paid, there will be no relationship. If Ruto has a challenge with the Gema nation, therefore, it is because of his debt collection approach as a warrior. Period.
Ruto has to work very hard not to become president. The hustler nation is behind him. The chicken sellers and hawkers have not benefited from the rich. In fact, when the poor hustler runs out of something to eat, he will eat the rich. You see, the scales that blinded the eyes of the poor have been removed. Now the poor can see clearly, and they can see that the Kikuyu Council of Rich Elders is a house of impostors. It is not about the Gema Ahoy and hustlers. This council is about protecting the rich Kikuyus when Uhuru leaves office, period. It is a fraud committed in the name of the poor. But there's one more thing. This council of rich Kikuyu elders believes that Uhuru is a kijana. He does not know what he's doing. Although he does not manga like Ruto, he should be put under the surveillance of the elders. And that is why they are issuing patronizing statements from their surveillance reports on Ruto. In our view, this council of rich Kikuyu elders is an insult to Uhuru's intelligence. It is that simple.
Today I will not speak as a public intellectual. I'll speak as a follower of a carpenter from Nazareth. I will speak as a believer in the cross and its power. When Uhuru Kenyatta was sworn in for the first time, he knelt down with Ruto before Elohim the Almighty, and we prayed for him and anointed him our leader. As Commander-in-Chief, you do not kneel down before your soldiers. It goes against protocol. Yet Uhuru did it. He was humble. And then we re-elected him in 2017. And during that time, he led the nation in reciting the Lord's Prayer in English. Then Ruto said the Lord's Prayer in Kiswahili. This happened during the inauguration on 28th of November. The moment was awkward, right, but magical. And the crowds shouted, "Si uchawi ni maombi." But after God granted them victory at ICC and granted them victory during the difficult 2017 election, they seem to have become ungrateful. And that is why they are fighting each other. Now we are calling them to order, because if they do not manage politics, politics will manage them.
And now, our final thought. We dedicate it to the house of Gema and the president. Once upon a time, a cabal of Pharisees caught a woman in the act of adultery. Take note that it was the woman they caught. The man in the act was never mentioned. Anyway, the holier-than-thou Pharisees paraded the woman in front of Jesus. Then they declared, according to the law of Moses, this woman should be stoned to death. Jesus looked at this school of hypocrites and said, let anyone of you without sin cast the first stone. The Pharisees looked at each other sheepishly, and one by one started to leave, beginning with the eldest. Gema elders are like these Pharisees. They invented corruption in the 1970s, made themselves filthy rich, and then whitewashed their graves like the Pharisees. Now they have become holier than thou. They have brought Ruto to Jesus to be stoned. And Jesus is telling this house of hypocrites, let anyone of you without sin cast the first stone. In sum, the public is not stupid. And this is why we are calling the house of Gema to order.